If you are newly baptized, if you're a new believer, this video is for you. Here are 5 things that you can do to get started immediately in your new walk in Christ. The first 3 are people, places, and things. Think about changing your people. When you become a Christian, you don't just reject all the people in your life. You are trying to start something new, but you still have these old connections. There are people who are old connections who may not have been the healthiest relationships, but you may be the only inroad that they have to Christ. There are also people who you know that you cannot be around because of their influence on you, that it's going to drag you down until you get to a more solid place to be able to reconnect with that person. So when you become a new person in Christ, these relationships have to be reevaluated from this new perspective. Does this person help me follow Christ or not? How much time should I spend around them? How do I influence them to become a follower of Jesus? We have to look at our people. Some of those old friendships are still okay. Many of them are okay. Some of them can be redeemed. Some of them cannot. But if someone is just so influential in your life that you just seem to find yourself in trouble and temptation over and over, the more you're around them, you're going to have to find some distance from those people. Now, when you begin finding distance from people who draw you into sinful situations and sinful things, they're probably going to push back. They're probably going to escalate. They're probably going to give you a hard time, say difficult things in order to try to draw you back into that old way of life. And you're going to have to resist that. You're going to have to be disciplined. And that's why you need a mentor. That's why you need someone to disciple you, who you can talk to about these things, who can real time walk you through how to manage those relationships now that you are in Christ. Someone to disciple me. Someone who is further along in the faith, who is willing to walk alongside you and show you how to walk with Jesus. It's really hard to do that in isolation. One of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially men, when they come to Christ, is that they continue to live a life of faithful isolation or faithless isolation. You have to find someone who's going to help you along the way. So that's your people. The next are your places. You know, in your life, there are certain places that you go that draw out certain things from you. There are certain places that you probably shouldn't be anymore. Say you're going to strip clubs and things like that. That can't be a thing anymore. You're going to have to identify the places that pull you down, and you're going to have to replace some of those places with things that pull you up. Now, there are places that can be redeemed, but again, just like the people, you're going to have to do some prayerful evaluation and discussion with the person who is mentoring or discipling you to figure out which of your old places can be redeemed, restored, converted into something new and life-giving, and which sort of places have to be completely rejected. We're not all going to have the same list. It's not all going to look exactly alike for all of us. That's why you need a mentor. That's why you need someone to help you make these kinds of decisions and process this as you're walking through it. And then there are your things. What are the things that you do, the activities that you engage in? There are certain things you just can't do anymore. It's called sin, disobedience to God. You're going to have to stop doing certain things. You're going to have to stop looking at pornography. You're going to have to stop telling those lies. You're going to have to stop getting drunk. There are certain things that activities that you're just going to have to stop doing. Some of that's going to take time. You know, in a perfect world, you would abandon every single thing that's ever tempted you for all time, but people who've been mature in Christ for 30, 40 years are still struggling with certain things. So this is a process. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's just trying to be faithful to your calling, to your new identity in Christ. In Matthew 12, 44, 45, Jesus tells a story about casting out a demon, and he says that if the demon is cast out and then the demon returns and he sees that that house, the person who the demon was in, has been swept clean and is empty, the demon will invite more demons to come in. It'll be worse off than it was before. And what I take some of that to mean is that if you can empty out your life of all this stuff, but if you don't replace it with something positive, something godly, something holy, new holy relationships, new locations to find yourself at church, to find yourself in the homes of disciples and Bible studies and meals, sitting at the table with people who can help you grow in your faith. These are new locations around new people, doing new activities. That's essential for your new walk in Christ. Think about your nouns, your people, places, and your things. So what is that new furniture that's going to come in and fill up that house so that when the demons come back, they find it full? There's no more room for them. You're going to have to find some new activities, some new disciplines and rhythms. One of those is regular, effective Bible study. And I'm going to point you toward Discovery Bible Study because it's going to help you understand the Word, to live the Word, to share the Word. You're going to have to find regular rhythms of prayer where you're praying at certain times of the day, but you're also praying because of prompts that are happening in everyday life. Difficult thing happens, I pray. I hear an ambulance or police car, I pray. Someone tells me something sensitive, I pray. Someone asks me, I go into a new situation, I pray before I get there. I'm going to go into a business meeting, I'm going to pray before I get there. I'm going to thank God when I leave. We have new thought processes, soul processes, activities that help us to engage with God during our day so that we're walking with Christ throughout the day in conversation with Him. So you're going to have new practices, new activities, new habits that you're going to be forming along the way. Part of that's going to be attending church, being around people who are like-minded that you can be encouraged by, where you can serve and volunteer and give of your talents and gifts and of your money and your resources. You're also going to need to shift your conversation. The kinds of things that you talked about reflect the kind of thinking that you had previously, and you're still going to have some of that. It's going to take some time. It's going to be a process to shift your conversation. You need to be finding yourself talking more about God, more about Christ, more about His work in your life with other people. You're going to be finding yourself sharing about Jesus with people, sharing part of your story, sharing the good news, what makes Jesus good, sharing something you've been studying in the Bible with someone at work or a friend or someone in your school. The kind of words that you used to use can't really be used anymore. There are certain profane things that we just shouldn't be saying, the kind of jokes that we tell, the kind of words that we use. It's a kind of a new conversation. And this is not an instant transformation. These things have been developed over many, many years in your life, and it's going to take some time to develop new habits. Be patient with yourself. Find that mentor who can help walk you through that. Someone who is patient and kind, who is trying to be faithful to God, who can be helpful to you to show you how to walk in this new life. And the last thing is it's a shift in your identity, the way that you see yourself now that you are in Christ, now that you've received the Spirit, now that you're part of the family of God. You are not fully who you were. You have been redeemed in Christ to be more than you've ever been before. And so you begin to see yourself in a new light. You begin to value yourself in a way that maybe you hadn't before. Some of the self-destructive behaviors begin to peel away because you now see yourself in the light of Christ. The way you see yourself and the identity that you have now in Christ affects the way you live and behave, the relationships that you have, the conversations that you have, the words that you use, the places you find yourself in, the people you surround yourself with, the things you are doing. It's a new identity in Christ. It's a beautiful thing. And so these are 5 things that I encourage you to make shifts on. And you're going to need help along the way with a new person or new people who can walk with you through this. So congratulations on your new walk in Christ. I'm so proud and thankful for you. And if you know other people who are coming to Christ and they need to hear this conversation, I just ask that you would share this link with them, pass it on so that they can be benefited by some of these things. Like the video if you haven't already done that, and subscribe if you haven't. But the main thing though is I would love for you to watch this video on walking with Jesus that will help you get to that next step as well. So y'all take care.